you have to go into this understanding that it's not going to happen quick. You're going to have ups and downs. But if you have a really good idea and you know it's something you can sell, there is a way to figure out how to get to this industry and make it. And I actually think on that end, because of the technology and the digital age, there are more options than ever. And, I think that it is more possible.
Welcome to today's episode of Staying Curious. I'm your host, Aimee Heuschkel, and I'm delighted to have with me today Sherri Barry. Sherri Barry is the co-founder of Fabric and the owner of the Fashioneer. The struggles of manufacturing her own brand sustainably and profitably ignited Sherri's passion for creating a better 21st century resource where digitally native designers and brands could create, sell, and manufacture. In 2016, Sherri co-founded Fabric, a nonprofit fashion incubator where designers with a dream could scale a sustainable fashion business. In 2021, Sherri launched the Fashioneer, so that designers scaling out of the incubator Fabric and brands everywhere could utilize state-of-the-art technology to print, cut, sew, and ship on demand. Please join me in welcoming Sherri Barry.
Hi, Sherri.
Everybody.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to speak with you. We have a lot of experience together, and I'm excited to share this with everyone.
Awesome.
So tell me a little bit about you. Tell everyone, what is Fabric and what is the Fashioneer?
Well, Fabric is something that I started in, as you introduced me, my mission to fix a problem I ran into when I started my own clothing brand. And that problem is the difficulties that independent brand has in going through all the steps you need to actually make your product. It's the complexities of design and development and pattern making and the technical skills, and then or the tech packs and all the tech stuff. And then once you have all that done, then the even harder difficulties of trying to figure out how to manufacture as a new brand in an industry that's really built for scale. And what that means is having to meet large minimums. I faced that problem when I started my brand, and I really wanted to solve that problem for other people. There's a lot of great ideas out there that can move forward now that there's the ability to start a brand digitally, but you still need to be able to design, develop, and manufacture your clothing.
Yeah, so you're basically looking for a way to take all of your experiences and even some of your mishaps and be able to work with other designers and up and coming brands to be able to be successful, to give them kind of the guidance.
Yeah, I mean, it was so difficult for me to do, and I had a lot of resources. I had time to learn about the industry, and I just really felt very passionately that if it was this hard for me, it had to be even harder for other people. And if you have a really good idea and a passion to be an entrepreneur and start a clothing brand, you shouldn't have to overcome so many obstacles to be able to get it to market. And so what Fabric is nonprofit fashion incubator under one roof, so you don't have to go try to find all the experts, and each time it's a do-over trying to explain what you're trying to do with your project. Everybody's under one roof, and the incubator is there to help designers who are interested in making a product understand the industry stuff they need to know to actually manage the production of that product through the steps, and provide all of the really amazing professional resources that you need to be able to go through a design, development, and manufacturing process so that you can make your clothes. And then all the other stuff, because even if you can figure out how to get stuff made, you still have to start a legal business entity, and you need a website, and you need a way to sell your stuff. And so we have wraparound services. And the goal of the incubator, unlike I think a lot of other entities in the fashion business that maybe service unique parts of that. So there may be pattern makers and there may be technical designers or, sample makers or cut and sew manufacturers. They're there to get one specific task done. The goal of the incubator is to help digitally native brands grow and scale. So we're there to really provide all the resources to help make sure that the brands can be successful and help people's dreams come true.
So tell us a little bit about your role in that business. I understand that you co-founded it, and that you kind of got it started based on your own experiences. But what is your role? Like, what are you most focused on at both the incubator and the Fashioneer?
Yeah. So with the nonprofit, I am chair of the board and the treasurer. Angela, the co-founder, is running the incubator right now. When we first started it, Angela headed up all of the education, design, and development piece of it, and I had the manufacturing piece of it. So once people were ready to manufacture, then it was my team doing the manufacturing. And we offered a manufacturing service that almost no one does as part of helping brands grow and scale, which is doing no minimum manufacturing. The reason no one does no minimum manufacturing is because it's highly unprofitable and difficult to do. Making micro batches of a whole bunch of different products is complex and it's expensive, and that's why no one does it. But we felt at the incubator that having the brands be able to make small amounts so they could take pictures, start selling on the website, was a key, or we found a key to the success in being able to grow a business. So you didn't basically jump from sample to 5,000 pieces and you don't even know what sizes and colors are going to sell yet, and you end up with a garage full of inventory, and it's really detrimental to your brand.
So why on-demand manufacturing, or this limited quantity manufacturing? Where did that sort of begin in your mind? And talk a little bit about the industry as a whole. Like, I understand that it's hard for brands to get started, and so they need to have an option, and that's what you guys are providing them, that fabric to be able to produce smaller quantities to be able to start their businesses. But I know there's more, right? There's always more, and this everybody's using the term on-demand manufacturing lately, and you guys are actually doing it. So talk about the need for, and especially your desire to get this up and going, and your passion for that.
Right. Again, I think it's important that the context here is helping brands, digitally native brands, grow and scale. And so every time that, and we're helping hundreds and hundreds of brands, every time that there was an obstacle that multiple brands were encountering, our goal was try to get rid of that obstacle. And when you run into an industry that in the 80s and 90s moved all the manufacturing overseas, the business model for successful brands to grow was to manufacture as cheaply as you could and in the most quantity and fill retail stores with it and sell as much as you can. That model has changed for a lot of reasons. The digitally native brands are in a completely different boat to begin with, because they're not marketing through print media and digital and have big advertising budgets anymore. They're marketing through social media. They're influencers themselves. They have a unique customer base, and what they need is an ability to be able to excite those customers with the personalization and customization and things that they're experiencing, that their customers are latching onto, and be able to develop that into product quickly and get it out to market. And that isn't how the fashion industry is set up. So if you're going to be a successful brand and you have to offer customized, personalized products and be changing them quickly because that's what people expect on the internet now, the whole model just didn't work. And so we went through a phase to try to solve that problem, and it's not an easy problem to solve, but
No,
that's
you
kind
actually
of
give
what.
you give a great example, and I'll have you share that because I know you told me this before about the hamburger example of, how hard is it really to do this model? I mean, I understand that it's one thing to talk about it, and even, obviously big brands want to produce to their consumers quickly as well. So the on-demand model is more than just smaller brands. It's also what big brands need to do. But it's not easy, and you know that. So sorry, I'll let you continue.
So in trying to solve the complexities of the problem, you look at why manufacturing's overseas, and that's to get unit costs down. But the only way you can get unit costs down is to do it at volume, and that's completely against what the new needs of digitally native designers are. And let's throw sustainability in there too. It makes no sense to over manufacture because you're never going to be able to sell all that product, and then you have all the waste on top of it. So if you can figure out a way to customize and personalize and get stuff to market, but you're not doing it in the kind of fast fashion way where you're producing more faster, you're producing better with less and targeting in on what sells, and then you make it, which is really what on demand is. That's the flip, right? Don't make a whole bunch and hope they sell. It's sell your idea and then make what people really want to buy. And that's the flip. And again, the difficulty with that is if you're selling first and then you want to make, everybody wants it right now. And you don't know what you need to make until it's sold, but you also need to do it really quickly. So we're in a mindset where everybody thinks, well, if I have that, there's a piece of inventory sitting on a shelf, and a person or a robot just picks it and put it in the mail. Well, on-demand manufacturing, the consumer still has that same expectation. Well, if I order it today, I should be able to get it in 2 or 3 days. But if you're doing on-demand manufacturing, that one piece still has to be picked. All the stuff that goes into it, printed, cut, all the pieces, and then it has to go through all of the sewing operations and then find its way to be packed perfectly and shipped. There is so much labor and specifics involved in filling that one order, but the expectations didn't change at all. And so
Consumers
that's,
still want everything yesterday. What do you mean? You can't just magically poof this together for us? And also
yeah.
make it at a price point that I can afford as a consumer?
So there's that part of it, but then I'll pick up the hamburger analogy that I talk about. I to understand the complexity, I always try to do an analogy that most people would understand. Imagine if you invited, 100 guests over to your house for some sort of a barbecue. If you let them order anything they wanted when they got there, imagine the difficulty of you trying to keep all those ingredients in your kitchen, figure out how you're going to assemble all those recipes, cook all of that, because you don't know what each person is going to order, but they all expect that they're going to eat in 20 minutes. Versus if, kind of like production is right now, if you only put hamburgers on the menu, you could probably figure out how to do that efficiently. And I just say that because it really emphasizes the difficulty that on-demand manufacturing presents in a real-world environment, which is why a lot of people talk about it, and not a lot of people are really doing it right now.
So how are you doing it? And how do you help these smaller brands understand the difference between going this route, and getting the consumer demand first, and maybe even having to increase the cost of their product? How do you get people to realize that on-demand model versus mass production model is right for them? Like, how are you you're doing it. So talk a little bit about those successes there.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, Amy. I don't think that on-demand manufacturing is for every brand. In fact, out of the apparel industry is a $3 trillion global industry. It's absolutely huge. So, and the amount of apparel that's made in the United States right now today is maybe 5% of that. I think it's growing since COVID because nobody can get anything. But I mean, it's a small amount, and out of the 5% that's manufactured in the United States right now, the amount that's being done on demand wouldn't even register as a percentage. So this is a small part of the whole industry, but I also think out of all the brands looking to manufacture, it is a unique brand. And I would say that it's a digitally native brand or a brand that wants to move more into a digital space with unique customized product where they can constantly innovate what they're putting up based on what's hot today, the influencer they're working with, if you're an influencer, what your customers are telling you they need, so that you can iterate new product in quick cycles and produce what you sell in more of a pre-sale type of thing. The product is more expensive. And, I always say that, first of all, you have to have a finite customer base. You have to make stuff that people want to buy and love, and that's kind of the challenge of the creator, right? I mean, you can make something that you love, but if nobody else loves it, in the end, you don't have a brand unless people buy it. So it's about selling. And so if you have a market and you have stuff that people want and you can sell it, and it's unique and customized, and because they want what you're selling, are willing to pay a premium price to get it, and it's unique and exclusive and you can charge more, this is the model that works perfectly for that.
And are you currently selling your own line? I mean, I know, talk a little bit. I know the answer. I mean, I know Adea was sort of this label that you had and then it didn't work out, and now you have it and it's growing and it's a great brand. And talk a little bit about your own success, give a little inspiration to the fact that this on-demand model works for even your own brand. You're not just helping others, you're also
Yeah.
doing it yourself.
Yeah. Well, I ended up getting into manufacturing because it was so difficult to manufacture my own brand. And, like I started out, I really thought there had to be a better way. And, as the world has changed, because that was almost 10 years ago now, I think that, I feel like the industry technology needs to keep up with the technology and the way that people are looking to, personally represent themselves with the clothing they wear, but the way that creators are designing and developing and then need to make so that they can sell. I have a brand, and, I leaning into my brand, I want to be able to customize. Have ideas. I wake up in the middle of the night and I have an idea and I'm like, I want to do that. And I think you have to be careful not to have every idea move forward because you still have to sell it. But the ability to be able to take that idea, create a graphic design, wrap that design into a pattern, put it on the Kornit direct-to-garment printer customized, be able to run it through the Gerber Z1 contour system, put it into production, put it up on the website. We can photograph here. I could even do it as a 3D model and get feedback from our customers. I can do that in a day or two right now. And if it sells and we get orders for it on a pre-sale, then we can just, make those, batch it out and sell it. And, I think that trends change all the time. The world changes all the time. And for us, our brand is really based on, feeling good and having beautiful clothing that, makes you comfortable in today's world. And so we want to be able to constantly customize our prints and messages and what we're doing for what's happening in the world today so people can feel good. And, my manufacturing allows me to do that. So it's a good test for what other brands would want to do. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Allows you to be creative, which most people who want to start a business in the fashion industry, most of them are creative. So sounds like a perfect marriage.
Yeah. And that creativity isn't constrained by the normal time it would take for that creation to actually get to market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about that technology. So, some up and coming designers may be listening in, or even, some developed brands that just can, give a couple of 3 pieces of advice for people looking to start out or to even just venture into on-demand manufacturing? What would be your 3 key pieces of advice for them?
Focus in on one customer and create and design to start off with a limited line and style and make sure that you can sell it. And so again, I think that the old model is design, make, sell. My first advice is, design and make sure you can sell before you make. I think the other piece of advice is, research your options. Every business model is different. And, I think that you have to make a choice as a brand on how you want to manufacture, how important sustainability is. If you're starting a new brand, you can make all the decisions up front, what materials you're going to do, how you're going to package it, how you're going to choose to sell it. But create something that, it's you. You design it, you make the decisions, and explore all of your business options. I think sometimes people, have a great idea and they think they can sell, and they go down one path, and that path might not be best for your business model. So I think explore options, because there are a lot more options out there on how you can design, develop, and sell, and then figure out how to make. I think my third piece of advice is plan on more time than you possibly could have imagined to be successful. And I think that you have to have a passion for this. You have to stick with it. Fashion design, development, and manufacturing and owning a clothing brand is not easy. And I mean, I think it seems easy. Of course, we all love fashion. It's fun. It's exciting, but it's not easy. And so you have to go into this understanding that it's not going to happen quick. You're going to have ups and downs. But if you have a really good idea and it's something you can sell, there is a way to figure out how to get to this industry and make it. And I actually think on that end, because of the technology and the digital age, there are more options than ever. And, I think that it is more possible.
Yeah, and it's
still easy.
Right, still not easy, but at least they know that now they can connect with you on ways to, you and Angela, on ways to make it possible, which is fantastic. So now tell us one thing that they should avoid. I think you sort of hit on this, but just like that one thing that you think that if you could go back in time, you would have avoided.
Don't develop a huge line with a ton of styles that you manufacture a lot of up front. I mean, you're just going to end up spending a ton of money on design development and manufacturing product that then you're going to have to figure out how to sell. In today's world, spend your money figuring out how to sell it, and again, find a choice where then you can make it. There's a way to do this, and you just have to turn this upside down. I think it's the key to really having a successful brand.
So tell us about, what is your prediction for the future of manufacturing? I mean, if we could have predicted even a few years ago that on-demand would actually be functioning right there in Arizona, what do you think is coming up? What do you think the next thing is?
Well, I'm really impressed about the rate that technology is developing, and I think that finally, there's companies like Lectra and Kornit, and they are focused on technology-based manufacturing equipment and software to make this more possible. And so as the industry catches up from the equipment and the software capabilities, then that allows then more opportunities for the designers to be able to structure their business models to take advantage of it. And it's really where we're all going right now, right? We want the coolest thing from the person who we think is the coolest, and we want it now. And we all want to live in a planet where what we want and getting the coolest thing isn't at cost of people in our environment. And so there is a way to do this. I think it is going to keep evolving, and I'm kind of thrilled about that. And, my challenge is every day, I've kind of become a tech nerd on the industry because there's so much coming up to be involved with, and I want to know all those things. And if it's possible for us to figure out how to incorporate it, buy it, implement it, we're there, because we want a different industry. We love fashion. We want fashion to be able to produce amazing things quickly and do it sustainably.
I 100% agree with you. Well, thank you, Sherri, for your time today. That was amazing. Super inspiring. Maybe I'll even start my own brand someday, or just wear all of your clothes. I don't know, whichever one comes first. But for anyone
We're here to help.
interested, for anyone interested in connecting with Sherri or with Fabric, they can go to fabricincubator.com. And from there, you could learn all about the not-for-profit organization and even get started working with them. You can also find Sherri Barry on LinkedIn. And again, I appreciate your time so much, Sherri. As usual, it's always an honor to speak with you. I always feel super inspired when we're done. So I thank you guys so much. And again, thank you for all tuning in, and please continue to stay curious and watch out for our next episodes coming once a month or monthly. Remember to subscribe to our social media channels, and we'll be sure to keep in touch. Thank you so much, everyone.